Welcome to Mark Arnold's Finance. We have two huge companies that investors tend to pick one or the other. There's a lot of debate between these two, which one's more diversified, which one has the better future, and so I'm going to cover it all. Of course, that is Coca-Cola and Pepsi. We're going to put these two up against each other and pick a winner. Now, technically, I'm going to pick two winners. One based off of my metrics chart, which kind of looks at its financials and different metrics, which kind of is the point in time, versus my pick on future performance. So you want to stay tuned till the end. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you give me a shot, subscribe. I'm somebody that's transparent. I show my portfolio performance with every video. I provide diverse content, and I just think that it's a great channel. And if you give it a try, let me know what you think. Also, I put a link in the description to Robinhood. Right now, if you sign up with my link, you can get up to $600 in free stocks. This is something that I haven't seen them do before to this extent, so I think it's a great opportunity, and I think Robinhood is a great app for beginners or just somebody who wants to get on quickly, and it's an app that you can get through things very easily. It's very user-friendly. So I do use it for a small portion of my investments, but I hold my larger amount somewhere else. But if you're interested, use that link. You can get some free stocks. So let's get started with my transparency and let's look at my portfolio performance. Recently, it's been in the green for about a month. Right now, it's a little over 3.5% in the green. That's $1,400 in gain. Mainly, Amazon has helped boost this portfolio up. I've talked about that enough. So we're going to turn our attention to Coca-Cola in the consumer staples area. This is one of the companies I'm going to talk about. And right now it is up 27.79% for me. It's been an awesome performer for my portfolio and one that I'm happy to own. I think this company will outlive me, and that's exactly why I invested it in the first place. It's iconic. I think this is a extremely good long-term hold, and it's just one that I like. Of course, the other stock in consumer staples is Tattooed Chef. I will be doing a video on this after their earnings now in August, but it's down 60% for me. This is more of a risk that I'm taking on a stock that I think long-term will grow into a huge company. We'll see how that one turns out. But if you have any questions on my portfolio, just feel free to comment down below, and I will be happy to discuss that with you. So let's get started. Let's go to some brief backgrounds with both companies. Let's start with Coca-Cola. Of course, I consider Coca-Cola one of the most iconic brands in the whole world. And I think this just means that it has staying power, it's lower risk, and it's almost a guaranteed future if you're an investor, right, of future growth. That's what I think of Coca-Cola. It got its start in 1886 in Atlanta, Georgia, where the first glass of Coca-Cola was sold at Jacob's Pharmacy. From there, this company just grew massively. Of course, there's a lot of Coca-Cola memorabilia. You see collector's items. People do like to see this company as one that they hold on to these. They can maybe sell them later for some money, maybe on the Antiques Roadshow or something. They also have strong advertising. This company does really well with that. It makes you very thirsty if you see their advertisements. They have over 200 brands and sell in over 200 countries. That's a lot of brands. That's a lot of countries. This company is definitely out there, and it is growing still, even as big as it is, which we will look at a little bit more. Now, the brands that they sell, this is just going to be some of them. Of course, they have a lot, but they sell AHA, Barks, Dasani, Fairlife, Fanta, Gold Peak Tea, Minute Maid, Smart Water, Sprite, Topo Chico. They have some hard seltzers, vitamin water, and Body Armor. So in my household, I buy Coca-Cola products. I buy Body Armor. This is a great drink. I think it's great for after my workouts to replenish myself. This is their take. They just bought this brand, I think, last year. And it's one that, is considered healthy. So that's coconut water, electrolytes, antioxidants, B vitamins. And I just prefer it to Gatorade. I do like both, but I prefer Body Armor. So Coca-Cola and Pepsi both are trying to get into more healthier options, and this is Coca-Cola's take. Now, Coca-Cola is a pure beverage company, and it's well diversified because they have over 200 brands and strong brands, and to me that is diversification. That's a good moat. Now, with Coca-Cola's market share, it's kind of hard to look at these for these large companies that are so diverse in many different countries. But this was a cool little picture that I found where it shows that in developed markets, the commercial beverages sell about 20% of the population, and Coca-Cola has 14% of that volume share. Now, in developing and emerging markets, 80% of the population likes to buy the commercial brands, and Coca-Cola holds 6% of that volume share. So on Coca-Cola's site, it does say that this is the proof that this company can still double in size and still have massive growth potential. So, we think of big companies. I've said this before. It is the wrong thing to think that big companies can't grow. They can. They have the capital. They can buy other companies out. They can keep diversifying their products. And so don't discredit the big companies. They can still grow and grow and grow. So with that said, let's move to Pepsi. Now, Pepsi is a very well-known brand. It's not iconic like Coca-Cola in my opinion, but it's very well known. And it got its start early on too. In fact, it was introduced in 1893 by Caleb Bradham, and it introduced itself as Brad's drink. From there, PepsiCo was founded in 1898. So definitely still from the 1800s, just like Coca-Cola, both very old brands, both big brands that people love. And this one is a beverage and snack company, so not just a pure beverage play like Coca-Cola, which people like because they think it's more diversified that way, that they're in two different sections, not just beverages. But I'm going to bring up something here in a minute that I think opened my eyes. But let's first look at their products. They have things such as Lay's, Gatorade, Mountain Dew, Quaker Oats, Lipton Tea, Sabra hummus, which was a surprise to me, Aquafina, Doritos, Fritos, Ruffles, Bubbly, and they just bought a stake in Celsius, which is an energy drink, and it's, both companies are trying to get into more healthier options, and this is their take on that, kind of taking a chance, seeing how it works out. Now, I looked in my house. I don't have any Pepsi products right now. I do buy a lot of their chip brands, but right now, this is random, off topic, but I just want to share that I love these chips, these Paqui chips, and the zesty salsa verde flavor. So if you love chips, this is a brand I would try. And back on topic. So with Pepsi, I was trying to look at market share data as well. And what I saw was that there was a comparison between Coke and Pepsi and their market share in the US for carbonated drinks. And Coca-Cola holds 44.9% of that volume share, they call it, where Pepsi is 25.9%. So Coca-Cola definitely takes the lead here and probably globally just because of how iconic they are. And, I think that Pepsi and Coca-Cola are both diversified. But here's what I want to bring up. People like to say how diversified Pepsi is over Coca-Cola, but Pepsi has and owns 23 brands, where Coca-Cola they own 200 brands. I don't know if it's over, but they market it as 200 brands. That's a big difference. 23 versus 200 brands. I think Coca-Cola is the more diversified company here, but chime in if you disagree with me. I'd be very interested to hear. So let's look at some financials, just information before we get to my metrics chart. So let's look at each company stock chart. If we look at Coca-Cola stock chart, we will see that over the last 5 years, Coca-Cola has grown 41.8%. So your stock is growing probably closer to that 8% range, and it's at a 278.55 billion market share. In comparison, we can see that Pepsi has grown 52% over the last 5 years, so you've gotten a little over 10% return per year, and its market cap is smaller, but it's not too far behind at 244.04 billion of a market cap. Now, both companies, I just want to compare their cash real quick. So Pepsi holds lower cash, so that could mean they're just reinvesting it quicker maybe, where Coca-Cola holds on to more cash overall. So both have been kind of flat, we'll say, where it's kind of downtrended and then gone up for Coca-Cola in the last quarter, where Pepsi's gone down. But I just thought this would be good to show the volume maybe of the cash that comes in per company. If we look at their sales and operating income, we will see that Pepsi definitely has more sales volume at over 20 billion versus Coca-Cola's a little over 11 in the most recent quarter. And their operating income, Coca-Cola comes in at 3.6 billion versus Pepsi 4.1 billion. So you can see that Pepsi does bring in more sales and operating income overall, which was very interesting to me given that I feel Coca-Cola is the larger company. But yeah, so that's something to look into if you're interested in that further. Now, I thought it'd be interesting to look at each company's PE ratio. So Coca-Cola, if we see here, right now they're near a 29 PE ratio, so pretty expensive in my opinion. And other than that little 2018 anomaly, we will see here they're towards the high end of their PE ratio. Now in 2018, I'm not sure what happened there, but if you know, please comment for everyone else to know. I'll have to research it, maybe I'll pin it myself. But right now, I think Coca-Cola is towards the high end of their PE ratio, where Pepsi is kind of in the same boat. We'll see here they're kind of towards the high end now. I believe they're more towards like a 26, where Coca-Cola is at a 29. So Coca-Cola is pricier when you consider the PE ratio. So overall, both have been reducing their shares in the very last quarter. But we will see here Coca-Cola, it went up for 4 consecutive quarters, it looks like, and then it dropped. So it looks like they're starting to buy back shares, where Pepsi was the same exact thing, where it was going up, kind of stayed flat even, and then it started to go down in this most recent quarter. Now, I like companies that buy back their shares. That means we get to have more ownership of that company. They're not diluting us. So to me, I think that's a great thing. Now, I think it's time to move into comparing these companies on my metrics chart, and let's pick a winner in the end. So let's bring this up, and let's start with the first line item with the PE ratio. Again, Coca-Cola is at a 29.04, Pepsi's at a 26.35. So anything in green takes the win, and Pepsi is cheaper when it comes to PE ratio, so they take the green here. Earnings per share, trailing 12 months versus the prior trailing 12 months. Coca-Cola has grown more at 18.18%, where Pepsi has trailed at 12.16% growth. So Coca-Cola takes it here. Now the revenue over the trailing 12 months, their growth has been 13.48%. That's for Coca-Cola, which is higher than Pepsi's 9.76%. So Coca-Cola takes the win here. Now the last 5 years revenue growth, Coca-Cola came in at a negative 1.58, where Pepsi grew 4.82. So Pepsi wins here. They've grown more over the last 5 years. Now, cash flow growth. Cash flow, remember, is money coming in and out. So I don't think it's anything to be concerned about if one's lower, but it does show some strength. And Coca-Cola has a higher cash flow growth over the last 5 years at 6.3% versus Pepsi's 3.23%. And as we saw with their cash position, Coca-Cola holds more cash. So Coca-Cola takes it here. Now the dividend yield, it is close, but Coca-Cola takes it at 2.74 versus Pepsi's 2.63. And the 1 year dividend growth, Pepsi takes it here at a 6.98% growth versus Coca-Cola's 4.76. Now the dividend payout ratio, Coca-Cola's at 80%, which is towards the high end. I don't care to see it that high, where Pepsi's lower to 69%. So Pepsi's more attractive on their payout ratio, which means they probably can grow their dividend higher. So that's something to consider if you're more focused on dividends. I think Pepsi might be the company for you. Debt to assets. Now, both companies hold decent debt to assets, but Coca-Cola is lower at 73.4 versus Pepsi's almost 80%. So I like that Coca-Cola has that less debt, so they take it here. Profit margins. Now, Coca-Cola does have a higher profit margin at 60.19% versus Pepsi's 56.58%. And I like to see higher profit margins, obviously, because they get to make more money on their products. Now, both their shares outstanding, as I showed, only started going down in the last quarter. So they both kind of tie here. So I just put them both at green, and hopefully that trend continues. If we look at what analysts think, they rate Coca-Cola at a 3.2 out of 10 and Pepsi at a 7 out of 10. So they see Pepsi as the more attractive investment right now. And I have to somewhat agree, because I believe that Coca-Cola is overpriced compared to Pepsi, and that could be the main difference. So Pepsi takes it here. Are these companies easily replicated? Both get a no for me. These are huge companies with lots of brand value, a big moat, diversification. It's not something that's easily replicated. Now, for my opinion, in the future, if I were to rate from a 1 to 10, they both get a 7 for me. Coca-Cola is expensive, but I feel they're the more diversified, stronger, secure company, where Pepsi, I feel, does have that opportunity for more growth. Their dividend is attractive, their PE ratio is lower. So I think they're both tied for me when I consider all things. So for me, Coca-Cola has 9 in green and Pepsi has 8. Coca-Cola takes the slight edge when it comes to the metrics chart, and so it wins. And I think that's mainly due because of its lower debt, its higher profit margin, and its EPS has been stronger, as well as its revenue over the last trailing 12 months. So Coca-Cola slightly takes the win, and I think that shows how close these companies are in comparison. Now, if I had to choose a winner based on my own thesis, my own opinions, and what I think their futures are, I do own Coca-Cola. I'm trying not to be biased, but I do choose Coca-Cola as well. I think it's the more iconic brand, so I think that creates a more level of safety than Pepsi. So I think that this company just is stronger overall. They are more diversified, in my opinion. And I just think there's more opportunity with Coca-Cola, believe it or not, than Pepsi. But let me know. I know there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with me there. So with that said, I do think Coca-Cola is just a hold right now. Or if you're one that likes to take profits, it might be worth it to take profits now. I think Coca-Cola might downtrend because with a recession, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi are going to be the last ones to be hit because people are going to cut on those larger ticket items before they cut on these smaller ticket items. So I rate Coca-Cola at a hold. I rate Pepsi at a hold to slight buy. And I've thought about taking profits in Coca-Cola, but I think it's kind of difficult to measure companies and know when to take those profits because you never know, the company can keep going up. And with Coca-Cola being a company that I'm pretty sure will be around longer than I'm alive, I just rather add to it when it dips than try to sell and buy and do that game of trying to sell high, buy low. I don't typically play that game. So this is a company I will retire with, I feel. It's a very strong company, strong brand, iconic, diversified, growing. They bought Body Armor. So they're doing good acquisitions. I think they're doing great things. Pepsi, though, I'm not saying don't buy Pepsi. That's also a strong company. I don't think they're as diversified, but I still think they're very well diversified because they do have the beverage and the snack. So they have two kind of avenues of opportunity where Coca-Cola has the one. If Coca-Cola ever did start getting into snacks, then I think that would just open up a whole new ball game. I don't know if they ever plan on doing that. Nothing I could research says they would. But I think if they had to, they would. But right now, I think they're so successful with their beverages. Coca-Cola is just the stronger investment, in my opinion. But as of now, I think they are more overpriced than Pepsi. So I would consider waiting to see if a recession does hit. These companies will be the last to dip. That would be the time to buy in based on which one you prefer. So let me know which company you prefer, Coca-Cola or Pepsi, and let me know why. I told you all about my reasonings why I prefer Coca-Cola, but I'm definitely open to hearing some cases why Pepsi might be better or solidifying my choice in Coca-Cola. I do like both brands. I do enjoy both their products. So I don't think you can choose wrong here. I just think it's based on your own thesis and opinions and what you think which company will be stronger in the long term. As a retirement play, I just think Coca-Cola for me is more sturdy. Pepsi, I think, will be around that long as well. But I don't know. Coca-Cola is my choice. So let me know what you guys think of all this. And we'll see you next time on Mark Arnold's Finance.